Assalamu alaikum from my religious tradition to each and all of your spiritual traditions and norms. Your Excellency, Mr. President, Your Eminence, Your Eminences, esteemed faith leaders, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to be with you here today. It is a wonderful sense of accomplishment that I believe our dear leadership in the United Nations Environment Program, Ms. Inger Anderson and Dr. Iyad Abu Mughli, have put together something that I believe bespeaks tremendous courage, but also visionary wisdom. Thank you to our hosts, the government of Iceland, and especially His Excellency the President, who also graces this and indicates the visionary and the courageous in this space. Many of you know, I hope, that religious institutions are actually the oldest social service providers known to humankind. Long before we had governments, we had religious institutions who served every need: spiritual, mental, health, education, nutrition, sanitation. Our primary institutions were the religious institutions, and this remains the foundation of so much of what we call international development today. When in the United Nations, making the case for why religious institutions and organizations and faith leaders should matter to the systematic, diligent, and deliberate outreach of the United Nations system as a whole, we used three main arguments. The first I have just shared with you, that we cannot claim to improve our educational or health or nutrition or sanitation or environmental infrastructure without working with those who were the original upholders and continue to be the bulk of the service providers in all communities around the world, regardless of north or south or east or west. We also were very keen on highlighting a point that is often made as a negative, but indeed is also a positive. Religious leaders and religious institutions are the benevolent gatekeepers of social norms and behavior in most societies around the world. There is not a single society in which the religious do not matter. Indeed, we were able to see that as the secular global system could often see the problems in religious engagement and religious discourse, that precisely when you see such problems, it becomes imperative to engage with the bulk of the sector. We would also argue that the religious institutions and the religious infrastructure is far bigger and far outweighs our secular institutions and infrastructures. That our challenge is not whether we should engage with religious actors, but to achieve a betterment and enhancement in the forms of engagement. Resourcing what we hear today about being fit for purpose for the United Nations is also something that we have as a conversation and a dialogue with religious communities and actors. Religious institutions are the best at mobilizing resources. They can call upon innumerable human resources. The average person is willing to volunteer to work in a religious sector or for a religious institution. Their ability to garner volunteers, human resources, is unparalleled, as is the ability of most religious actors to also garner financial resources. And last but by no means least, we would argue, as we do now, that many political actors are increasingly more closely affiliated with the religious actors. That religious leaders have traditionally been the oldest advisors to politicians in many parts of the world. And today, religious institutions still can make or break even electoral processes in many parts of the world. We may not appreciate that in the secular world, but it isn't a matter of our appreciation, it is a matter of acceptance. We have a wonderful opportunity today to be able to benefit from the wisdom of the leadership, the senior-most leadership of a government that is, to all intents and purposes, a leader in the international development and foreign policy space, and to a United Nations institution that is a leader in the environmental space. We need political leadership badly, especially in the contemporary geopolitical context we are living in. We need wise leadership badly. We are therefore honored and privileged to be able to benefit from this kind of joint leadership that is both at the political as well as the multilateral, as well as the international and interreligious spaces. We have with us a deeply distinguished panel. Allow me, please, to introduce one who needs no introduction, but nevertheless, I would honor him with one. His Excellency President Guðni Jóhannesson, the President of Iceland. He is the 6th President of Iceland, took office in 2016 after winning the most votes in the 2016 presidential election. He was then re-elected in 2020. Before taking office, Mr. Guðni was Professor of History at the University of Iceland. He has taught at the University of Iceland, Reykjavik University, Bifrost University, and the University of London. He has also worked for a few years, part-time for the Icelandic State Broadcasting Company as a reporter. His Excellency has written numerous books on modern Icelandic history, including works about the Cod Wars, the Icelandic presidency, the late Prime Minister Gunnar Thorodsson, the former president, and he has received a variety of recognitions for his work. Mr. President, Your Excellency, the floor is yours.